welcome to this episode of Authentic Achievement, where I'm joined by the fabulous Daniel Gomez. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Kim. I'm honored to be here today.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. There is so much exciting stuff that we can get talking to about your fantastic journey so far. But before we get into that, let me share with the audience a little bit more about you. So Daniel is an award-winning keynote speaker, business coach, executive coach, corporate trainer, and Podcast of the Year recipient. Daniel speaks and coaches at events all over the world. His passion is to elevate businesses and entrepreneurs to achieve their true potential through their training and coaching programs. Daniel has empowered his clients to achieve epic success in their personal and professional lives. He's an international best-selling author. His book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, was published to give people the right approach, the right attitude, and the right heart in becoming a millionaire God's way so that they don't self-implode or self-destruct. Daniel's high energy and ability to unlock the untapped potential in people has made him a highly sought-out keynote speaker and corporate trainer for top organizations, including the US Air Force. He was honored with the Best of 2019, 2020, and 2021 awards for his training and business coaching. And he and his wife, Mary Gomez, believe in giving back and supporting women whose lives have been impacted by breast cancer through their non-profit, the Mary Strong Foundation. And Daniel, what an amazing, amazing journey. I don't know where to start, but could you share with us kind of your journey so far and what got you into doing business coaching?
Well, I never imagined I was going to be a business coach and a speaker, and God has a way of putting things in perspective for us. Sometimes we have our plan and we're going 100 miles an hour, and then we get a little roadblock. And in 2017, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was saving up money to buy my own dealership. I worked at a Chevrolet dealership here in the States, and just my wife made a decision to have a double mastectomy. And you being a woman, you understand if a woman loses her breasts, it's not easy. So she got depressed on me, and that was the tipping point and the pivotal point of where everything changed for all of our lives, because I ended up resigning to take care of her because she was depressed. But little did I know that I would never go back to the automotive industry, that I would become the motivational speaker, Daniel Gomez Inspires. And from there, I never realized, because I had 100 employees, I ran a Chevrolet dealership for many, many years, almost 2 decades. Sometimes you don't realize what you do because you're in the forest so much. But I really had a chance to step out of the forest, Kim. And as I stepped out of the forest, I realized I knew more about business leadership and everything than I gave myself credit for. Because people would talk to me about coaching, and I'd be like, I'm not a coach. But then God started showing me, Daniel, you know this. And I never understood. I thought everybody was getting paid to speak in 2018 and 2019. We did phenomenal. We hit over 6 figures both years in a row. I thought everybody was a paid speaker. But to my surprise, when COVID happened, we lost over, close to $50,000 in paid speaking engagements. Wow. And that's when we started our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy right here. And we had speakers come in from all over the world in July of 2018, during COVID, because they thought the world was going to be locked down for a couple of weeks. And, it was locked down forever. But Texas was open. The big state of Texas was open. So was San Antonio. And God said, you need to show these people how to become paid speakers. And the rest is history. And I've never looked back.
I love it. And I think you're right. I think sometimes we think we're on the right path. And I always say it's the plot twist moment. It doesn't quite go where you were going, but as the old saying says, when God closes a door, somewhere he opens a window, and we just have to look for that, don't we? And I love that actually you took that lesson, and then you looked at how do you give back, how do you have a greater impact on the wider world. And I'd just love to ask first, how's your wife now?
Well, she's alive. She's telling me what to do now. She runs the house now. And so many times in life, we don't realize that we take a lot of things for granted. And what we take for granted, we lose sometimes. And I was fortunate enough to where God was able to open my heart and my eyes to realize, either you have, put it this way. Now that I do business coaching, everybody always, either they complain or they're upset about things. And the truth is, you need to change. You as a leader need to change. You as a business owner need to change. You as a human being need to change in order for things to change. The outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And as I realized that Daniel needed to change, man, it was amazing that I didn't realize how much I needed to change though.
Yeah.
Sense?
It makes total sense. It's it really resonates because me and my little girl, every day we spend a bit of time doing what we're grateful for, because we realised that we were taking a lot of things for granted, and focusing on what we didn't have yet instead of being grateful for what we had already. And I think sometimes I've certainly seen it kind of in what I do, where everybody, it's always somebody else's fault. It's like we go into organisation there. I've got a cultural problem, and so then you've got a leadership problem. Your culture reflects you as the leader. So if you don't like what it's doing, you've got to look in here, not out there, because it is purely going to be a reflection of what you're doing. And it doesn't matter what you say you're doing; it's what you're actually doing that counts. So people buy into not just what you're saying, but what you're doing and how you're being and how you're showing up in the world, don't they?
Yes, and the beautiful thing is, as I embrace the identity of being a speaker and then being a coach, and people were coming to me for advice, and I'm like, well, how do you know that? And see, I still wear my Chevrolet ring. We would go to business school, and I said, man, like I guess I do know more about business. And then as sticker shock started exploding, it's like, no, that's the problem. People have the mindset that I want to be a speaker, so they fail because they never want to build a speaking business. And the whole approach that I took from the get-go was, I'm not just going to be a speaker, I'm going to build a speaking business.
Yeah.
So when you come to our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, we don't just teach you how to speak. We teach you, hey, from A to B, what's the roadmap to how do I find my speaking engagements? How do I interact with the event planner? What does a speaker application look like? And then we put you on an amazing stage that we invested thousands on, and we record you and we give you all the tangibles. And it's really amazing to see how some of our amazing students and attendees come, like Anthony Pollard, Tony Pollard came from one September to the next September, over $75,000 in paid honorariums. Michelle Hoskins, soon as she left, 2 weeks later, she got her first $5,000 paid speaking engagement. So it's phenomenal. Since then, Michelle has made over $250,000 speaking. It's
Right.
like it's powerful. It's one thing when you do it, but when your people that you're coaching and mentoring do it. So I just kind of embraced the identity of business coach, and once I did, it's like the doors opened up, and I
Yeah.
started seeing everything kind of line up, and I'm like, wow. Now I was open to the idea, and ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand this. What idea are you close to? What idea has God put in your heart, but you're not receiving it? There's opportunities all around you, but you're not seeing it because you're close to the idea. You're close to the concept. So how can you receive that blessing if you're not open to that idea or concept? And so many of us, we block our own blessings.
Oh, we do. We do. We're our own worst enemy, aren't we? Often.
Yes.
Um, and doing that work, that journey to become our own best friend is crucial, and it allows us to then open ourselves up to what are the things we're saying I can't do, or that's not me, or I'm not worthy of that. That wouldn't be where I'm sitting, because if they're still cropping up, then that's probably what we need to look at, isn't it? And I've learned in life that everything that happens to us is either a lesson, a blessing, or both. And so in the moments I don't feel blessed, I look for the lesson, because that's where the blessing is, because we need to keep that evolution, don't we? And I love that Sticker Shock is helping people to share stories, because I think that's the one thing that connects us all globally, irrelevant of our age, our race, our culture. We teach and we learn through stories. So being able to help people share their story must be the most amazing feeling.
It's beautiful because you got people that they don't. One thing that I didn't realize, and I'll be honest with you, is I was looking in the mirror one day as my wife was recovering. She had 8 major surgeries, and on surgery number 3, I remembered I really looked in the mirror for myself, Kim, and I didn't like who Daniel was. I didn't like who was inside of me. I had a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of regret, and I realized that when people get on stage and speak, sometimes they just start crying because they don't realize. I call it, right in my book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, I call it, you sweep it under the rug. We sweep so much stuff under the rug, and we sweep and we sweep and we sweep. But the mistake that we make as human beings is we think that, oh, I just have what I swept today and last week. No, You got 10 years, a decade of compressed dirt. So just imagine, as a woman, you have long hair. Imagine sooner or later in your shower, it's going to get clogged up. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you take care of your hair. The fact is, over time, it's going to clog because little by little, your hair clogs up. It doesn't happen in one day, in one week. Maybe in 6 months, you got to get a drainer, or you got to kind of get a plumber to clean out your shower. But it's the same thing with the emotions and that negative, toxic junk that we put inside ourselves that we don't deal with. So they get on stage at Sticker Shock, and next thing you know, they're crying and they don't even realize why. But then the realization comes, oh, my mom, my dad said I'm never good enough. That counselor at school said, you're not college material. You can't go to Oxford. You're not good enough. It's like, and they carry this and they don't realize that it hinders their decision. It shifts their lens, and they don't become the person that God created them to be. So that happened to me. And I just realized that I realized that I didn't realize how much junk I had inside of me, right? I realized it. I'm like, man, I never realized I had all this inside of me. So I talked about it in my book, because people say, Daniel, why are you so greedy? Why are you talking about money? It's like, well, it's not about the money. It's about the person that you become on your journey of becoming a millionaire. It's the person you become, the character that's developed, the maturity you have to go through, right? The traits that have to be developed in you. And then, yes, money is important. So many people think money is not important, but the foundation of who has to be in you, right? Who you have to become, the future you has to come to the forefront. The future you has to be built. The future you. And we've all known somebody, Kim, who overnight success, whether it's in the States or in the UK, they go from 0 to 100, and next thing you know, they're successful overnight in a year or two, but then they can't sustain it because they lose it within another year. Why? Because they didn't have the character, they didn't have the maturity, they didn't have the right foundation. So they self implode and they self destruct, and they lose everything they ever had.
Yeah. we see it so often, don't we? Because we have got to become the person that we want to be ready to receive whatever it is. And I think often we do think like we shouldn't talk about money, and money's a bad thing, but actually you need money to be able to live in the first instance, but you also need it to be able to have more impact, because if you've got more money, you can help more people, can't you? So this kind of like you can't do one without the other. And I was going to ask, but I think you've already started to explain some of it. So what was your motivation around writing The Millionaire Mind?
God, I didn't want to write it. True story. I wrote my first book, You Were Born to Fly, which is right here. I wrote the book, You Were Born to Fly. Then I wrote my second book, Sticker Shock. And then as I was there, God started putting this new book in and I thought about writing it, You Are Worthy and Deserving is what I was going to write it. But then I didn't. And then next thing you know, God says, I want you to write a book about money. So I started writing this book, and it was totally going the wrong way. It was like not good at all. I sent it to my editor, and it didn't work out. I threw it away. Introduction in the first chapter. I'm like, I said, you know what? I'll write it in the wintertime. This was about 2 years ago in 2021. And then my wife woke up one day and says, hey, God says, don't forget to finish your book. I'm like, okay. Well, then a month later, I didn't even do nothing. It was around the holidays, Christmas time again. She says, look, God's not telling you. God's not asking you. God is telling you now to finish that book. And I said, God, if you want me to do this book, you need to show me, because I can't get it. And I think I was blocked with the idea of talking about money. And next thing you know, just in prayer, right? Because one of the things I do every morning in my morning routine is I spend 30 minutes to an hour with God, and he downloads the strategies. He downloads the ideas. And the idea came to me, The Millionaire Mind. And next thing you know, it was phenomenal. It was just little by little, it started coming together. So then I had a big speaking engagement with John Maxwell in January, and we sold out of our book, the You Were Born to Fly. We sold out of it. All we had was just the mock-up of this one. Now we had 75 pre-orders going back to Texas, and now I was forced to finish the book, Kim, and by God's grace, that pressure kind of made me finish the book, and it was amazing. It was a phenomenal feeling. And there you go. The book turned into an online program. Now we have an online program called The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, 27 powerful modules. And then after we're done with that, God said, you're not done yet. I want you to have live boot camps. So now in every May and every November, we have a live boot camp where we have like 40 to 50 people that come in from all over the country. And people don't realize this is that there's a spiritual element to money. And here in America, if you look at a dollar bill, look, I'll show you. If you look at a dollar bill, here on this $100 bill, you see the words "In God We Trust." And people don't realize that God is the foundation of our wealth. And mostly everybody, I want to say mostly everybody, they miss that spiritual aspect of money. And they say dumb things like, right, you live in England, I live in San Antonio. So I've never met you before prior to being on your show, right? We've kind of collaborated a little bit, but to have a real conversation, we've never had a glass of tea. So I'm going to start a sentence and I want you to finish it. Can we do that?
Of
Okay.
course.
Money doesn't grow on.
Trees.
Who do you think
Oh,
the early bird gets the,
them.
how do you know that and you're on the other side of the world?
Because we tell ourselves these things all the time, don't we? And we make them true. I say to my little girl's 7, and she'll come home and she'll go, "Oh, Mummy, I'm rubbish at drawing trees." I'm like, "Don't ever say you're rubbish, because you say it, you'll believe it. Whatever we're saying to ourselves will become our reality." And then we pass it round, don't we? And we don't ever question our own reality.
Well, the thing is, think about it. You're in England, and I'm on the other side of the world. We're conditioned to think in a poverty consciousness. In this world, they train us to think as employees. They train us to think as a worker, as a factory worker back in the day. And then this is the biggest lie that we've been told. And I think we've all heard this before, and especially in school, in grade school, they really get to us, and they think, and they're smart, right? Whoever created these word tracks, I call them, to keep us in poverty, they say, Kim, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never.
Hurt me.
And what hurts more than anything else in this world?
Words. Always.
And human beings carry words more with them than a broken leg, a broken arm. They carry that broken heart forever.
Yeah.
The leg will heal, but many times the heart doesn't heal because the words that were said by a father, by a mother, by a lover, by a friend. And so we're trained to think in a poverty consciousness. So in the makings of a millionaire mind, it's really the concept of, okay, what's the foundation I got to build? And one thing that I realize is that many business owners, they don't succeed because they have a poor self-image of themselves.
Yeah.
So your self-image is the lid for your business, for your life, for everything. Because like you just said, right? If the culture stinks, well, then you're the problem, the leader. Well, many times those are insecure leaders because they have a poor self-image. And
Yeah.
that's the business owner, that's the leader that's going to be micromanaging, okay? Or instead of giving Kim credit or Daniel credit, they want to take the credit for themselves because of their little complex they have of inferiority. And it just, that's why many businesses don't make it that way. They just they don't thrive and survive.
It's so true, isn't it? Because we we do become what we think about. And I spent many years really struggling with a self-image, and I'm totally disconnected to what other people saw. And so somebody once gave me this exercise to do, which was to go and ask friends, family, colleagues a couple of things that they admire you for, and a couple of things where you get in your own way. And I really recommend people do it, because when they came back, I had almost unanimously people said, "You're brave and fearless." And I was like, I've got no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to have to explain that to me, because I do not know where you're getting that from. And I'm currently in my 36th house since I left home. And they're like, "You will literally up sticks and move anywhere where you know nobody for a job that you're not even 100% certain you can do." And they said, "That's brave and fearless." And oh, I thought you all thought I was flighty and a little bit stupid. And it was a real turning point for me, which was, imagine what my life would be like if I lived by their labels instead of mine. Because it was the same life. It was demonstrating the same way, but our view of it, our perspective, was so very different. And I think it's all in the mindset, isn't it? As I say to Scott, you win the game here before you win the game here. You've got to do that work to know that you're ready, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that When people say money's not important, what they're really saying is they don't understand it, because money is the most misunderstood, right? Money is the most misunderstood object, yet it is the most desired object. It's kind of like if you're going to a dance, and Daniel sees a beautiful young lady there in high school, and everybody wants to ask her to dance, but right, everybody wants to ask her to dance, but they're scared to, because what if she says no? Or what if Kim and her girlfriends go to the sock up to the summer dance, and it's high school, and there's a handsome boy, and like, oh, I wish he would ask me to dance, and no, don't ask me because I don't want to, right? It's like we want that, but we kind of resist it in the same way, and that's the same way money is like we want it, but we have the misunderstanding. And the truth is this: is that it takes money to pay your employees. It takes money to grow a business. It takes money to give to God's kingdom. So when you understand, you know what, money is important. I'm like, okay, well, and then you got some other people that say, well, no, love is important. No one's talking about love, right? People deflect to love all of a sudden. Well, love is more important. Yeah, but okay, go pay your car payment with love, and tell me what the bank says. Like, it's so stupid, right? It's dumb when they say things that they don't even understand what they're saying. Oh, well, no, all I need is love. Well, yeah, okay, great. Go be homeless and tell me if love's gonna pay your bill and feed you. But they don't. People just say things, and in America, that they don't think about it sometimes, and it shows their and their ignorance of not knowing, right? Not They don't even understand themselves. They say it just to say it. And why do they say it? Because the masses are saying it, because everybody else is saying it. And just going back to the way we were role playing earlier with those little sayings, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones. How does everybody know it? Because everybody says it in grade school.
Yeah, and it's so true, isn't it? And we don't often really give thought to what we're saying and the impact that's going to have. And again, sometimes when we just change it slightly, and my little girl came back from school, and somebody had been really mean to her. And she was very upset about it. And we talked through why she was upset, and said, I wonder what had gone wrong in their life. And she went, what do you mean, Mummy? And I said, well, if someone's been mean to you, chances are they're upset themselves. Because we deflect, we move it out. I said, so if they're mean to you again tomorrow, why don't you ask them if they want a cuddle? So she did. So the next day she went, Mummy, I said to them, would you like a hug? And she said they thought about it for a moment and said, yes, please. And we gave them a hug. And now we've had a lovely day playing together. And I was like, yeah, because we assume that actually they're just mean and they're not very nice, because that's what we've been told to assume. But what happens when we get curious with ourselves and with each other around what's driving that? What's happening in your world today that is making you feel like this is a good way? Because I don't think people don't hurt us on purpose. The fact is they're probably not thinking about us, and we're collateral damage to whatever is going on in their own world. And once we get curious about that, we can find better connections, can't we?
Well, I'm going to give you a story that I think that'll help exactly illustrate what you just said. So, ladies and gentlemen, imagine just me and Kim are working in her garden, and she's planting some beautiful rose bushes. And all of a sudden, as we're planting all these 10 rose bushes, Kim gets pricked, and she's like, I said, Kim, we got to go to the clinic. Let's go take out that thorn. Kim's like, no, it's okay. It's good. I'll just, let's finish it. So we have a long day ahead of us. So 3 hours later, we're finished with the roses. They look beautiful. But now that thorn is an infection in your finger. And right, it's irritating you now. There's a little bit of pain there. And no problem at all. So I said, you know what, Kim, let's go get some fish and chips. Okay, so we go get fish and chips. We hail a cab and we go. Next thing you know, we're in line. We're in the queue. And then somebody hits your hand by accident, but it's your finger that has the thorn. Are you going to overreact by accident because the pain that's already there? See, and that's what happens is, as human beings, we carry these thorns with us that we never pull out. They get infected. They have pus. And as soon as somebody touches us, we overreact, just like that thorn that we never took out in our finger. And it wasn't the person's fault that tapped into your hand. It was the fact that you never took the thorn out. And that's why you reacted the way you did.
Oh, I love that. What a great story. Because we keep those things, don't we? I always say, when you get into an argument with somebody and you start bringing up the fact that they didn't empty the dishwasher in 2002, and they're like, really? I mean, you're still going there? Because we don't ever let it go, do we? We don't ever just like release it, look at it, learn from it, and then release it, because if not, it just becomes baggage that we carry around, and continues to be infected, so that actually if we think about the kind of our level of emotional tolerance, if we've constantly got a full cup, the minute anyone comes near us, we're going to lash out, because we've not given ourselves any capacity to respond differently. And I always
but think about what you're saying. That's exactly, it goes with your show, what we're talking about right now. You have a full cup, it keeps you from being authentic. You have that thorn in your finger, it keeps you from being the authentic you. In return, it affects you and it keeps you from having achievements. So
Yeah.
you're never going to have authentic achievements if you always leave those thorns in your finger, you never pluck them out and deal with them. If you're always walking around with a full cup of water, you're going to spill it. You know you are, and you're not able to be your authentic you. And in return, it keeps you from achieving what God has for you.
That's it's so true. And I think, I think we grow through our pain when we go through our pain. And often we don't go through it. We kind of like, we do. I mean, we have the experience, but we don't go back to it and go, why did I experience that? What was it there to teach me? Or how was it redirecting me? What was it that I needed to do differently to learn, or to, and similar to yourself, Daniel, when you shared earlier, that sometimes you look in the mirror and you don't like what looks back. That's when you have to change. You've got to go in and go, well, if I don't like what's looking back, the only person that can change that is me. And I think often we blame other people. So I can't do this because people will say this or say that or say the other. And actually, what we really mean is we're going to say that, because that's what we're worried about. And so we've got to get past being comfortable with what we're going to say about ourselves and stop blaming it on other people that may or may not have the same opinion.
I would encourage your audience to really self-assess and write this question down, because the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. Where in my life am I holding on to resentment? Who in my life am I holding on to resentment against? And people don't realize how much resentment they have inside of them. They say, oh, I forgave them. Yeah, but how much resentment do you have? Because resentment and unforgiveness are two different things sometimes, because resentment is more of a unforgiveness. You can kind of, right? Because it's a deeper, but resentment is sometimes it blinds us because it's kind of a shallow. But once you have resentment after resentment, it can get pretty, right? You see somebody and just roll your eyes, and it's like, it's you're not aware it's there.
Yeah.
I really want to encourage your audience to write down, where in my life do I have resentment, and who may I be holding on to resentment towards? And just ask yourself that question and write it down, and put your name there, right? And audience, put your name there. So the exercise would say, Daniel, who may you be holding on to resentment towards? Kim, who in your life may you have resentment?
Yeah.
And when you do that, it might not come up that instance, but I guarantee you, one of my clients was arguing with me. That's so stupid. Nope. The next day he was crying. He goes, I didn't realize how much resentment I had towards my stepmom.
Great questions, because already it gets your brain thinking, and it makes you look at it from a different perspective. And I agree, our life is fueled by the quality of the questions we ask. And I love when you get that question and you see that it unlocks something for people, or you see that it unlocks it for you, because it's made you see it from a different angle, from a different opportunity to go, that's why they say there's always three versions of the truth, isn't there? My version, your version, and what actually happened. We're viewing it from a slightly different perspective, and we're viewing it through the lens of everything that's happened to us before. And our emotional brain responds 24 times faster than our thinking brain. So we like to think that we're brilliantly logical human beings, but the fact is, what happens is, whatever's going on in our world, we emotionally respond to it, and then we react to what it made us feel. And often that can be the thing to pull us back, isn't it? What's actually happening and how did it make you feel? Because if you don't ask those two, you're going to be over here responding with emotion, and the facts over here are telling us a very different story.
Yeah, and those very things keep us in that loop that keep us from becoming a millionaire. Like that unforgiveness, resentment, we harbor those emotions, and you'd be surprised how many people, once they have a block unlocked, they realize like, wow, like that's what's keeping you. Because what happens is they start, you start, your business starts to start doing well. Well, then you're triggered from something else because you're dealing with unresentment, but you're dealing with resentment and unforgiveness that you haven't dealt with. And you self-sabotage and you start arguing with your employees, you argue with somebody, a customer, and you kill yourself. And it's just like, it's a revolving loop,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your business is stuck at that level because you as a human being, you as a business owner, you fail to deal with the real issues. Just think about this right now on your side of the world. They just finished building the tallest skyscraper ever in the world in Dubai. Everybody knows that. But what people are failing to realize is that same building in Dubai, it also has the deepest foundation in the world. So the higher you go, the deeper God needs to go in you to make sure you have the right foundation. And many people don't want to deal with those deeper issues that we're talking about, the resentment, the shame, the grieving, whatever it is that's unresolved there. That's what's hindering people from going to the next level in business.
Oh, it's so true. I've not thought about that for the foundation, but it is so true, isn't it? We've got to have a solid foundation to enable us to have the growth. And as human beings, we've got to do that by going in and doing the inner work, going in and looking at the bits we didn't want to look at, the bits, to your point that you brushed under the carpet, to the point. I know certainly in my life before I started looking at it, the carpet was like, there wasn't a lot of space between the carpet and the ceiling. There was that much stuff that got brushed underneath it. And you had to crouch. So you have to go back and look at those, don't you? So that you can get rid of it and create the space to receive what it is that you're wanting to achieve in life.
Yeah, and the mistake that we make, especially, right, and I can say this because I'm a believer, the biggest mistakes believers say is, oh, I already forgave, I already did that. Yeah, duh. That was for level 2, but now you're at level 3. Guess what? Now you got to deal with deeper stuff.
Yeah,
Because if God was to show us everything that was wrong with us, Kim, our heads would explode and we would implode ourselves. Like it's too much junk that we haven't, that it's humanly impossible. We would really, I mean, it just, we don't have the capacity for that.
yeah,
So as God is growing us and maturing us, well, then he's showing you, it's kind of like the best, this is the best way to describe it, ladies and gentlemen, because you're like, Daniel, I don't believe what you're talking about. I'm going to prove it to you. 10 karat gold is a level 1. It's gold, but it's not as pure as 14 karat gold.
yeah,
So
yeah,
to get to 14 karat gold to level 2 in your life and business, it has to be heated more. It has to be taken off those. There's more impurities in there. It's not as pure as right. 10 is not as pure as 14. But then you go to 18 karat gold. Well, now it's heated even more. It's pure. It's stronger. Well, that's level 3 in business. So no matter how high you go, and the ultimate is right, 21 karat gold. It's pure gold compared to level to 10 karat. Totally, almost double the price per carat, a lot purer, stronger. Well, guess what? That's the same thing in levels in your life and business. And you got to, right? If gold has to be heated and purified to get stronger, what makes you think as a human being you don't have to be? And that's the mistake that
yeah.
we make.
I love that. What a great analogy. It always reminds me. I always say to people, diamonds are just stones that did really well under pressure,
Yeah.
because they had to be put under pressure to become diamonds. I could literally chat to you on this forever. Could you tell us more though about the Marry Strong Foundation? Because I want to make sure that we share that with the audience as well.
Yeah. So our website is at the mightystrongfoundation.com. And my wife is a breast cancer survivor. So we have a women's conference called Finding Your Inner Beauty, and we bring in women to really encourage them and edify them, and just a community where they can just tell themselves that they're beautiful. Because when my wife had a double mastectomy, she didn't feel beautiful. So with the
Yes.
Mighty Strong Foundation, we raise money in our conference to help women that maybe need help with the chemotherapy or with the payment. Because when we were going through the journey, people don't realize that even with insurance here in America, you're still spending $1,000, $2,000 a month on doctor visits aside from everything else you're paying.
Yeah.
And everybody said, "We'll help you in 90 days." I'm like, "Well, hell, in 90 days, we ain't gonna need your help. It's not gonna matter. Like, I need your help today."
Yeah.
So even if a woman that has breast cancer needs help with a $100 gas card, we supplement that with through the Mighty Strong Foundation. And I'm so proud of my wife because she's really taken ownership and embraced and embodied the identity of that's her nonprofit. So she'll be doing a lot more events with that. And so it's beautiful because even when you help a woman pay her light bill, that's $300. Like there's a lot of people that need help, and we try to do our best that we can with that.
I love that. It would be great to have her on if she would be up for it, so we can share more about that with the audience, because I think it's such an amazing gift that she's giving back, because it's a lot about people being heard and listened to and respected. And I think at our core, that's what we all want, isn't it? To be listened to, understood, and respected. Doesn't mean we never disagree, but we disagree, we don't disrespect. And I think hearing people in their times of trouble is a real act of love.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll say women because she's a woman. She never realized how strong she is.
Yeah.
And I think even women, I mean, we understand that women can tolerate more pain than men because y'all have babies, right? We don't have babies, so we'll never that. Hey, we give you that one because y'all birthed us. But sometimes in life, as you mentioned the word labels, we have these labels that are on us. And my wife now, she's just a totally different woman than she was in 2017. You know, she's more confident, she's more stronger, but she does it now in a godly way where she realizes that, wow, like I can do more. And many women, they don't feel beautiful, they just, I mean, it's the reality. And I think that when God put it in my wife's heart, look at your inner beauty, not at your outer beauty, and you realize that you're beautiful, that God doesn't make mistakes. I think it just helps women understand that no matter what words someone may have told you, you're still beautiful in God's eyes, and God doesn't make mistakes. And to carry that at a deeper level. So I'm really proud of my wife that she's kind of grown into that woman to
Oh, that's amazing.
encourage.
It's amazing. And it's so true. You know, I say to my little girl all the time, you're beautiful because you're beautiful on the inside, and beauty shines through. And I think it does. You know, that inner beauty shines through people's eyes. And you know, don't you? You get a good feeling around people who have got a beautiful soul.
Yes. So it's just I'm proud of her. Now she does a little bit of speaking also, and she's working on her first book. Actually, we're doing our first anthology called "Finding Your Inner Beauty." Nick, here, I have it right here, as a matter of fact.
Cool.
So we're bringing in some amazing women, and we have 20 women that are going to share their perspective of what does finding your inner beauty mean to you. So if
Oh,
there's any women out there that want to join us, we have an amazing opportunity right now for Christmas time where we have a special. It's $1,000 a chapter. So we love for you to come and be a part of our journey and just grow with us. And as we share the beauty of women from the inside out.
amazing. I love that. Daniel, I could chat to you all day, but I'm very conscious of our time. I would love for us to have another conversation. But before we go, if you could just share with the audience, if you were able to go back and give the younger you some advice, what would it be?
Put God first from the get-go. I think once I put God first, once God became the CEO of my business, and then family, and then business, everything changed. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it says Daniel Gomez is the president because God's truly the CEO. And once I made him the CEO, our business doubled again. And this year we had a record breaking year in 2023 during a recession, as they say in the United States. It says God's not limited to the world's economy because I'm of God's economy. So I would encourage your audience to put God first as their CEO, and watch the magic of what he's going to do.
I love that. Daniel, thank you so much. You've added so much value. I will ensure that in the notes below are all the ways people can get in touch with you and connect further to learn more about how they too can create the life they want.
Yes. And if you're in the States, text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. That's 210-942-5059. And look me up. Daniel Gomez Inspires is my brand on Instagram and Facebook. So thank you for having me, Kim. It's been a blessing.
Pleasure. Take care.